This is the Stubborn German Podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, joined by the proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company, Mr. Chris Ron.
I'm so happy to be here, Kevin.
I can tell. And we're also joined by our producer, Mr. Jared Chasson.
I am also happy to be here.
It's a dynamite. We're all just so happy to be here. And here is the Stubborn German Brewing Company in beautiful Waterloo, Illinois, and that's where we are.
That's where we are.
And tonight is or today, or this morning, whenever you're listening.
Whenever you're listening.
Is a special edition of the Stubborn German Podcast. It's a shorter version, and we had a little bit of a discussion on what we were going to call it.
What did we decide?
Well, Chris's vote was...
A Schnitt.
A Schnitt.
A Schnitt.
A Schnitt of the Stubborn German Podcast.
Which translates to...
Well, a Schnitt... If you're drinking in Germany with all your buddies and you're at the same pace, everybody orders a beer at the same time, but someone's just a little thirstier than the rest, and they drink their beer a little too quick, so they go up to the bar and they order a Schnitt, and it's just a smaller pour of the same beer to kind of get them caught back up to their buddies.
Right.
Or so that I guess everyone can catch up to them, really.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in the racing world, that's called a bracket race. Everybody has to end at the same time at the finish line.
Exactly.
There's your word of the day without having to wait till the end.
Yeah,
folks.
right? Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, that's the Schnitz right there.
That is the Schnitz.
You guys sell Schnitz here?
No, but we have Shits and Giggles, which is almost sort of close.
But you did mention a smaller...
Yeah, oh yeah, we don't call it a Schnitt, unfortunately.
Maybe you should.
Maybe we probably should, actually.
Marketing
we sell flights,
opportunity.
which is like a 4-ounce, you know what?
Yeah.
Things are going to change around here.
Well, I was in St. Paul, Minnesota last weekend, and I came back, and I had a Schnitty flight. So, I mean, you could have that, too.
I'll never forget, a customer came in here and said, he was joking, he's like, I need a Schnitt of shits. A Schnitt of shits. I don't know what you want,
you
sir.
You need to see your doctor.
And then he told me, and I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So this is a Schnitt podcast.
Yes.
It's a little
Nice.
one.
The other option would have been the Stubborn German Podcast Light.
Light.
That's right.
Yeah, the light version.
LITE.
Yeah, well, of course. How else did you call it?
Yeah.
So-
well, and the reason for that is because this one is coming out during the Monroe County Fair Week.
Yeah. Yes.
Which I do have to say we're very fortunate to even have a fair. Last year it got canceled because of the pandemic.
That's right, yeah.
Right. Yep. That's this is a big comeback year for them, and for all the organizations that are out there selling food and soda and beer and parking cars and all that good stuff. Everybody pitches in, and all the organizations get to make a little bit of money and that they need right now because they didn't make any last year.
Sure.
So,
and the patrons get to have some fun. Because Waterloo is the county seat, and that's where the fairgrounds are. So there's a lot happening here this week. But traditionally, because the masses throng to the fair, some of the local businesses might find a little bit of light activity. But as I sit here tonight and look at the patrons at the bar, it's not slow here.
Yeah,
No,
you wouldn't
we're
know it
doing
was
good.
Fair Week by looking at the bar.
Yeah, but I hear that it's coming though. That's kind of between the bar owners and the restaurant owners. Everybody always complains about Fair Week being slow. So, again, no one's complaining, saying that we don't want people to go support the fair, because we absolutely do. Again, that's where a lot of these nonprofits make a lot of their money. So no one wants to take away from that. But bills still need to be paid, at the bars and restaurants. So in the same way here. So
now, why might it be a little busy here tonight, Chris?
Well,
did you do anything to entice people to come in this week?
We might have, a little birdie might have put out on the Facebooks that we're going to do a really cool bourbon flight of Buffalo Trace products. So I guess I'll go at this as if you know nothing about bourbon. So Buffalo Trace.
Thank you.
I wasn't looking at you when I did it.
At that time.
So Buffalo.
You were looking at me with your heart.
I kind of was. Buffalo Trace happens to be the brewery that makes a lot of the best bourbons in the world. Really, the most sought after. They go for the retail prices on some of these bottles might be $60, $70, $80, but they'll sell for $500, $1,000.
Wow.
Some of the Pappy Van Winkles that Buffalo Trace makes, the 20 and 23 year goes for thousands of dollars for one bottle. So huge money. Anything that they make, it seems like anything that they touch just turns to gold. They can do no wrong, really, in the bourbon world, it seems like. I love their stuff. It's delicious. I have other distilleries that I love equally or maybe even just a little bit more. But Buffalo Trace does an awesome job. And what they do have that we got a hold of is a bottle of their Elmer T. Lee, which is a single barrel. I believe it's 95 proof, I want to say. But it used to show up here maybe quarterly or even every other month or so when we first opened. I'd order it all the time, and it would just show up when it shows up. Like when they have it, they'll send it, but they don't always have it. They can't make enough there at Buffalo Trace. And so we got our one. I was told we're going to get one bottle a year, and this is it. So
Nice.
this is the one bottle. It's sitting on our bar right now, and we're selling a flight of 4 Buffalo Trace products. So you get the four of them are regular Buffalo Trace, which I say regular, but it's delicious stuff. Then you have Eagle Rare, which is their 10-year bourbon. Same mash bill as Buffalo Trace. Then it's that Elmer T. Lee, which is a single barrel, again, highly sought after, always delicious stuff. And then Weller Antique, which is the 107 proof, which is also extremely tough to find now. Some of these used to be on the shelf, at the grocery stores and liquor stores, all the time. And I'm talking probably just 5, 6, 7 years ago. Used to be on the shelf, no problem, and they've disappeared.
Right.
People go crazy over them. So we're selling a flight of 4 of those, and it's a half-ounce shot each of those for $15. And it's just kind of our way to try to get some extra traffic into the brewery during our, what is normally our slow week of the Monroe County Fair. So
Yeah, that's cool.
And we're hoping to attract, not necessarily the locals to get them away from the fair. We're trying to get people from St. Louis and Belleville that might not be in the area otherwise.
Brad
to come
Kime,
over.
ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, Brad Kime! Look at that.
He's in the house.
He's in the house.
Previous Stubborn German podcast
right.
guest.
Yeah, he makes our beer labels, and I
That's
think he's
right.
looking up there, checking them all out.
He's looking at that strawberry
looking at his
Kolsch
handiwork.
logo.
Yeah, he is. He's saying, "Man, it's a good-looking strawberry. Who made that?"
Yeah, as we heard about the
So not to
blueberry
derail
weed.
the Buffalo Trace topic, but I did laugh when I looked up at the board and saw strawberry Kolsch, and I just pictured Chris pouring strawberries into the
Just dumping them in one after another.
begrudgingly.
A strawberry and then a tear, and then a strawberry and another tear. Just toss them in.
Nice.
No, summertime is the time for fruity beers, and what is so funny, Mr. Osteen?
I'm just a happy guy.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're happy.
So give us a little insight to these 4 bourbons. So Buffalo Trace would be, I consider that a popular bourbon.
Yeah, for sure.
But also not necessarily rare. You can't find it everywhere, but it's you can get it, right?
Yeah, if you love Buffalo Trace and you see it on the shelf, you should probably pick it up when you see it because it is,
hard to get.
Yeah, sometimes it's around, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
And if you love Buffalo Trace, you're already doing that.
Right. In fact, I've been looking for it and haven't seen it at any of the places I've been looking.
You need to go take a walk on the other side of the little cage
I can
here,
get it
'cause
here.
a little birdie told me there's
All
maybe a bottle over there, unless
Nice.
someone already snagged it. So
Got to let the wife know.
yeah,
Hey,
she's on the other side
exactly.
of the cage. She could
Can
probably
you
do that
go
for you.
snag a bottle for me? Yeah.
Anyway, then the Eagle Rare is a 10-year whiskey, and basically, to come out with an age-stated bourbon that's that old anymore, probably 4 or 5 years ago was probably the biggest time where bourbon manufacturers took the age statement off of bottles. So instead of Knob Creek 9-year, they just call it Knob Creek, or Elijah Craig 12 years, kind of the famous one. So it was a 12-year. Elijah Craig was 12 years old, and they just took the 12 off so that they could blend in some younger stuff. So is that right or wrong? I don't know. Basically, if it says 12 year, that means everything in that bottle is at least 12 years old. It could be older, but it's at least 12.
Wow.
I've been told by quite a few people at Heaven Hill that there is still plenty of 12-year-old juice in there. But yes, there's a little bit of younger stuff that has needed to be blended in because Elijah Craig is one of their biggest sellers. So that was the decision they had to make was do we not sell as much of it, or do we still sell as much of it, but we have to blend in a little bit and take the 12 off?
So now it's an average of 9.5 or something.
Yeah, something like that. So Eagle Rare is one that stuck to their guns so far and kept the 10-year on there. And I'm not sure how long they'll be able to do that, but it's on there still. But they moved it from the front to the back, which makes me think that eventually, when you move it from the front to the back, that means it's going away at some point.
Right.
Whatever, it's still good. That's the same mash bill as Buffalo Trace. And then, the Elmer T. Lee. So Elmer T. Lee was the master distiller at the Buffalo Trace Distillery before it was called Buffalo Trace. Sazerac bought that distillery in 1994, I think, and they changed. They bought it from the George T. Stagg Distillery, from that's who owned it before. So Elmer worked for the George T. Stagg Distillery, and he started as a young man. He actually went to Colonel Blanton's house, his mansion that's up on the hill there, and went in there and said, "I need a job. I can do anything." And Blanton said, "Get out of here. We're not hired today."
That's what Chris told me when I wanted a job here. He said, "Get out of here."
What he told me when I said, "Can I help with the podcast?"
Get out of here.
We're not hiring.
You're both still here. You're both still here. So they tell Elmer T. Lee to go scram, and someone says, "No, this kid's a workhorse. You need to hire him and let him see where he goes." So Blanton goes ahead and says, "Yeah, I'll hire you." And so he starts by sweeping the floor. He works there for decades, and eventually is the master distiller there. So
nice.
They basically Elmer started that his own label as Elmer T. Lee, and he would go pick his own single barrels. So Elmer T. Lee is always a single barrel, and before he passed away, he would still go and just pick his single barrels. So can you imagine being, I'm not sure what age he died at, but it was ripe old age of 80, 90 years old or whatever.
Right.
And he's still just showing up to the distillery to just pick his barrels. Like that's so cool.
That's what he did.
Yeah. So, but
it's a good job if you can get it.
It's a great story, and that's part of the reason that bottle's so hard to get. So
that's cool.
And then the fourth one is Weller Antique. Weller is a wheated bourbon, which wheated bourbon is it's the same exact mash bill as the Pappy Van Winkle series.
Yeah,
it's all wheated. So in a wheated bourbon, you take the rye out, which rye is synonymous with like a spicy flavor, more flavorful, just bold flavors. Take that out and you put wheat in. It becomes more softer and smoother and easier going, a little more approachable, and just makes for a more smooth drink. So. So that's a wheated bourbon. That's what Weller is, and this is the 107 proof expression of Weller, which is again delicious.
So I was saying earlier, I had the Weller Reserve here a few weeks ago, and it was one of my favorite bourbons that I've tried here. So I really want to try this Weller Antique. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that might be a post-podcast little whiskey sipping session.
You gotta.
I'm just
when in Rome.
I mean,
I'm still pondering the approachability of the bourbon.
Well,
one's more approachable. Is it closer to the edge of the bar? Or?
Right. It's very kind of you. It whispers. It's like, come on up. I'm approachable. Hey, buddy.
It's a siren song.
Smiles at you. And
I'll tell you what's approachable is that $15 price tag for a flight of bourbons. Because, what I would say on average, when you have a flight of bourbons that you're even on sale, it's $20-$25 or whatever, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's 6 of them. Usually we do flights of 6. There's only 4, but I don't know. We just want to do something
like
different to throw in. Yeah, I mean, you can walk in and drink $15 worth of some pretty good Buffalo Trace products. One that you know is going to be very tough to get a hold of.
Hard to get.
Yeah.
Now you were saying you can only get one bottle of that a year or something?
Yeah, that Elmer T. Lee is the bottle that I'll get all year. So
you are drinking from Chris's one bottle.
That's my bottle.
That's it. That's all
this
there is.
This is not some special extra bottle that he has.
Yeah,
this is his one bottle.
We put that on Facebook, and we had 3 or 4 people contact us like, "Hey, I would buy a bottle of Elmer T. Lee for him."
Yeah,
like,
I'll bet you would.
Yeah, I bet you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well,
I'm like, so would I.
Created that exclusivity.
Right.
You got to try it with something else.
Yeah,
it really is pretty cool when you think about it. Whether you're into bourbon or not, when there's something that the owner of the bar can only get one bottle of, and you're getting to drink from that is pretty cool.
Share it.
Exactly. Yeah. He didn't just take it home.
I guess I could have just taken it home.
I mean, it's not too late, Chris. There's some.
How much is left in there anyway?
Now that being said, I asked Chris earlier. I said, "How quick do I need to get up here and get a flight of this bourbon?" And he said, "It depends how fast that Elmer T. Lee's sells out.
Depends on how many people are
There's
here for
literally
Muni Band.
one bottle sitting there. And when it's gone, you're going to get a flight of 3 bourbons.
Yep.
So get up here while you can.
Yeah. And when that's gone, we may very well swap that out for something that's also hard to find.
Yeah.
I might have a couple extra bottles in the
2 bottles a year.
Yeah. No, not that. It'd be a different bottle that I also can get one of. So.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Now, in order to make this a quick episode, which we're quickly
we need to make it quick.
Beyond,
not becoming.
We wanted to touch on the fact that Chris and Tammy recently acquired the Craft Brewers certification sticker, something. What is that?
Sure. So it's it's from the Brewers Association. It's been around for quite a while, and we've had it for quite a while. So it's the Brewers Association. It's the Certified Independent Craft logo. So this is the upside down beer bottle that you see on a lot of beer bottles and cans, in bars on the doors and stuff like that. We did that just a couple years back. As soon as they started it, we knew we wanted to be a part of it. But basically, it's kind of the Brewers Association. It's their nod to to craft brewers that are owned by small groups. A small.
So it's like an independent association.
Exactly.
Which is like an oxymoron, but it makes sense.
An independent association.
It's an association of independents. But that's what it is.
Right.
Well, and not to get contentious about it, but I think something that a lot of people don't necessarily know is that many of these craft beers that you can buy in the store are owned by massive corporations. And I would say honestly so. They've just kind of funded them on the back end. They may still be a craft brewer and run by locals, so to speak. But I mentioned to Chris earlier, so Goose Island is up in Chicago. They're a fairly well-known craft brewer.
Brewery, yeah, for sure.
But they were bought by Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, and a lot of the Goose Island beer that you drink around here is made in St. Louis now. It's not made in Chicago.
Exactly.
I used to go to their brewery before it was an Anheuser thing.
Yeah, and not to knock it, from what I understand, they're still using the same recipes, and it's still craft beer, but it's owned by a massive international corporation that it's not the same as Chris and Tammy owning it. And
that's what this logo is supposed to set apart,
Exactly.
is to say that, hey, if it doesn't show that logo on it, you might be able to assume that, number one, either they didn't do their homework and just go get that logo, because it's very easy to get as long as you follow the actual the requirements, but or they might be owned by Anheuser-Busch or Miller or whoever, and again, nothing wrong with that. Not saying that I wouldn't sell if they call me.
If Kevin and I come in with the right offer, and
that's right.
Are you no longer in craft brewery?
I might give up that logo for some cash. No, I'm kidding. I would never ever do that.
You would never.
Of course not.
But I have the real quick the definition of what that actually is. But you have to have in order to get this logo, you have to have an annual production of 6 million barrels of beer or less a year.
Oh man, you just slide right in.
Just snuck in there, because I think we're less than 600 barrels a year. Actually,
so close.
Yeah, we're right there. And then to be considered independent, less than 25% of the brewery can be owned or controlled by another entity in the alcohol industry.
Oh well, you got
if that entity is not also a craft brewery. So it's basically saying that if you're big beer, macro beer, you can't get this, but everybody else pretty much can. And it's just to kind of show that this brewery, the beer that you're buying, that you have in your hand, is from somebody that really cares and has poured their heart and soul into their business, into their beer, into their recipes, and their employees, into their community. Again, not that Anheuser-Busch doesn't do that.
I'm going to say, I'm going to pause right there, because
that.
I know that at Anheuser they have put their heart and soul in everything too.
For sure, and in their community, for sure, and they have.
I think the difference is corporate ownership versus individual
That's
ownership.
really what it is. It's more on the ownership end of it. And, I mean, I don't know. I display it proudly on all my cans and the door of our building and all that stuff. Just to kind of signify that, like we're mom and pop. We're trying to get after it, and that's us.
And anybody that's been on an Anheuser-Busch brewery tour, I think probably takes some pride in drinking AB products. I mean, it's a very cool thing, and there's there's legitimate family history there that dates back forever.
Absolutely, and some really, really cool history that I nerd out over, and I know you do too, Kevin. We've talked at length a few times.
So I don't want to disparage the giant corporation that is Anheuser-Busch.
That's not what this is
but
about.
But there is something completely different that is the local guy and gal it's
a nod to the entrepreneurship and the risk taking and
right.
the need to care to make it good to survive.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So Kevin, when the V8 business tails off and you think you can make less than 6 million barrels a year, I think you know where to go. You can
6
talk
million.
to Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems like a large, a high bar to meet.
Yeah,
to get out of craft.
I wonder if Sam Adams, Sierra Nevada, the gigantic
are
craft
they considered
brewers,
still? Yeah,
I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I want to say that they are still, but I don't know because isn't Sam Adams owned by
somebody else?
Probably at this point.
Well, what's interesting to me is that what is the definition of craft beer? Because a brewer at Anheuser is going to tell you they craft their beer as well.
For sure.
So
So
tune in next time,
right? And we'll have that definition.
When you hear Chris say,
there's a story about I think it's a certain vodka that they have handcrafted on their bottles, and they actually went to court over it. Someone sued them and said, like, prove it, you're not handcrafted. Like, you're just not
slicing the potatoes.
Yeah. It's so, and they say, well, we moved the hose from this tank to that tank by hand, so we're handcrafted.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
All right.
Well, you also see like homemade pie in the grocery store.
Yeah.
What? You made this at home?
Yeah. But it's in the grocery.
Someone made it.
Yeah. Do you have a commercial kitchen in your house?
No, I live in a factory. That's my home.
Yeah. Well, the takeaway, I think, from this episode is that for a limited time, this week only, during Fair Week, come on up to Stubborn German, and you can get a delicious Buffalo Trace flight for $15.
That's right.
And get a very limited run of some bourbons.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah. And not to mention, we did release a couple new beers this week, too, for that.
So what's new this week?
The new beers are Strawberry Kolsch.
Right.
Which we talked about for a second. We have a breakfast brown ale. So if you love coffee, that is the beer for you. It's about 5% alcohol. It's just it's a real solid just brown ale.
Yeah.
And then we soak some coffee in, and it's an oatmeal brown. So that's why the breakfast comes in with coffee and oatmeal. So
do you release what kind of coffee you put in there?
This is from this is
Juan
from
Valdez?
my buddy. This is not Juan Valdez. This is a Sumatran coffee from my buddy Caleb that used to own the Proving Ground in Columbia.
Oh, nice.
So he still has a roaster and still does some stuff on the side.
Oh,
so
nice. Awesome.
we got that from him.
Local Joe.
Yep. He's a good guy. And then the last one we just released was Main Street Helles. So that's a light German lager. Tastes delicious. Really easy going. About 5% alcohol. So we released 3 new beers and did this flight and hope that we can grab a couple people from across the river to come on over this week.
If the strawberry Kolsch is anything like the normal honey Kolsch that you guys have, which is very good, and if it's as subtle with the strawberry as the blueberry wheat is subtle,
it's a win.
I feel like it's going to be a great beer. I haven't had it yet. I have not tried it.
Oh, it's even pink.
I feel like
I'm trying to say, I'm trying to look around to see who has it because you'll be able to see it when someone walks by with a glass of pink.
I see one on the bar right now. There's a pink
That's
beer.
Strawberry Kolsch.
I'm going to try it before the end of the night.
As we conclude our Schnitt episode here tonight, it reminds me of my very first Monroe County Fair story.
Yeah?
Right? So, as you both know, I'm not native to these parts, but my wife grew up in this area, and it was July 30th, I think, 2005. Okay? And it's like the last night of the fair, which is like, I don't know if it was the FFA night. They're throwing hail bells and stuff.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are in the stands because the next morning, on Monday morning, we were going to close on our house. And I was going to move to Waterloo. from Chicago.
And you were like, really? Is this what I'm getting into?
Well, that's what she's like, okay, this is what happens here, right?
So this is everything.
Yeah, and we had been married for 1 year, and it was our wedding anniversary at the fair.
Nice.
And she's like, "If you are you okay with this?" And I'm like, "You know what? I was very kind of freaked out about closing on my first house, on our house, to really enjoy and let the fair soak in." But now, looking back, I love the fair. It's awesome.
And then you had a funnel cake, and everything was better.
Well, you know what it was? It was a couple of beers, and as soon as I met some people, like Chris and everything else, and it's a little bit of a reunion, but a lot of that is the same thing that happens here. So it was, it all turned out really, really well. But it was just kind of funny. I remember that.
That's a funny story.
Her looking at me like, okay, you ready?
Is this where you want to live?
Yeah, this is it. You grew up in Chicago. You lived in L.A. Now we're at the fair in Monroe County. What do you got?
The fair's the best.
It is. It's cool. It's a great place to live. All right, folks. Well,
so
thanks.
Come on out and go to the fair. Support your local businesses and charities, but also stop in to your Stubborn German and any other local restaurants and bars. And
all the other restaurants. They
realize that they're maybe a little slow this week and they need some support too. So
and no wait at any restaurants, probably, right?
Exactly.
Like, just come on in.
Get your seat at the bar right away.
That's right.
There you go. Well, we thank you for tuning into the Stubborn German podcast. As always, if you like this show, hit that subscribe button, and it's like magic. Another episode will appear either in your inbox or on your device without you even knowing it. It's really, really easy. Nice way to not have to remember to do that. And for Jared Chasson, Chris Ron, I'm Kevin Ostie saying, Prost.
Prost.
Pace with everybody else.
Otherwise, it just could be Stubborn German Podcast Light.
Right, light. There you go. Yeah, L-I-T.
I like Schnitt.
Yeah.
Schnitt.
We like the word nobody knows.
Right. We'll go Schnitt.
Or we can call it Podcast Light.
That can be the word of the day next time. Yeah.
Well, our true fans can be Schnitt heads.